Sephora's biggest sale of the year is on. Get 20% off the best gifts, including makeup from brands like Rare Beauty.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
20% off skincare from brands like Glow Recipe and Summer Fridays.
These are my fave.
20% off hair care like Way and K18.
I'm obsessed.
And 20% off fragrances like Valentino, Donna, Born, and Roma.
So good.
20% off your purchase, now through December 15th. Shop now at Sephora and Sephora at Kohl's.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls across America, it's me, Eric Erickson, with you. The phone number, this open line Friday, is 877-973-7425 if you want on the program. As always, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. When we close out this year, I will have literally doubled the number of affiliates of this program from when we started the year. We're growing. A lot of people to thank for that. But for all of you who are new, I need to prepare you for Christmas. I do a Christmas program that is very unique for conservative talk radio show hosts, and that I'm not going to talk politics on Christmas. I'm going to talk Christmas. I think it matters. One of the most important events in human history. And I'm working on the playlist now. We already had a caller ask about the playlist. I sent out the playlist of the Christmas music. I will take care of that. I'm finalizing it today and over the weekend, but prepare yourselves. I also need to, before I get into the UFO talk, I need to very sincerely thank the folks in Jacksonville at WOKV and their listeners. Yesterday was a great event. I intend to do it again next year, another bourbon event down there. Gave away all the bottles of bourbon. I didn't want to lug them back with me on a plane, but it was fantastic. There was just one very, very bad moment. There's one very bad moment, and it wasn't any of their fault. It was a bad moment. I have to tell on myself. I don't like snakes, but what I hate more than snakes are very tall bridges. And I know in my rational mind that I'm going to be fine on the very tall bridge. I know I'm going to be fine. I get anxiety on tall bridges. I don't like heights, and I think that's what it is. And it's not just any height. Like I could be in an airplane and I'm fine. I got a floor under me and a wall beside me, and on a bridge, you got water underneath you, and I got out of the event last night in Jacksonville, and when I go to Jacksonville, I've never admitted this before. I will admit this to you now. When I go to my affiliate WOKV down in Jacksonville, Florida, or when I go to Amelia Island or anywhere like that, I intentionally route my GPS to avoid the bridge on I-295. In fact, I tend to come into Jacksonville from the west side on I-10 just to make sure that I will avoid the bridge on 295. The other bridges are fine. That one is not fine. And last night, I wasn't paying attention when I set my journey back to the airport, and I had to go over that bridge, and I nearly became that person who came to a complete stop on the interstate and tried to find my way off of it. I do not like tall bridges, and I just had to, grit my teeth and grip the steering wheel. My heart felt like it was going to explode as I got over the top of that bridge. Y'all, I know it's dumb. I recognize physically it is a dumb thing. It's a childlike response to a tall bridge, and I get it. And I am almost 50 years old, and I get panic attacks on tall bridges. I never venture west of Baton Rouge when I go home because you got to go over the Mississippi River Bridge, and that's the bridge that started it all, and that's a scary bridge. I'm getting anxiety just talking about this. Oh, that was one bad moment is I wasn't paying attention when I put in the get me back to the airport, which way it was taking me. Because normally I would, even though I was over at Neptune Beach, I would have gone back through all the way to downtown Jacksonville, which would have added about 20 minutes to the route and gone up 95. And the bridges there are fine. They're not the I-295 bridge. But the I-295 bridge scares the bejesus out of me, and I had to go over it last night, and all I could do was close my eyes and hope that the navigation system kept me in the lane as I gripped the steering wheel and breathe deeply and practice Lamaze training like they told my wife to do when she was getting, y'all, it's you don't understand. I don't like tall bridges. I don't like tall. When I go to New York for work, I route myself through the tunnels and tell the drivers to go through the tunnels because I don't want to be over the big bridges. And I know it's stupid. I admit it is a dumb thing. And yet I have a just massive anxiety every time. Now you know way more about me than you wanted, and you're thoroughly disappointed in me, and I totally get that, but I'm just telling you the truth. It was the one bad moment for an otherwise wonderful trip, and it was all my fault. Actually, I'm going to blame Jules, the program director. She's like, oh, you got to go to the airport. Don't want you to miss your flight. Don't want you to miss your flight. I got out of there on time to make sure I didn't miss my flight and got a panic attack in the process. I know it's dumb. Look, I know it's dumb, but I can't help it. I've been this way since I was a kid, and it's not changing at this point. I need a Xanax to go over a bridge, and then I can't drive. We got to move on to the UFOs now. We're just going to move to the UFOs before I further embarrass myself. Oh, my goodness. Okay. All right. Let me fire up all the video here. There is a breakout of UFOs. And by the way, it's not just New Jersey. And this is the frustrating part here. And this actually is one of my frustrations. When it snows in New York City, it becomes a national news event. Y'all all know it's true. If there is an inkling of wind in New York City, those of us across the country are forced to watch the national news outlets cover leaves blew from trees today in New York City. Charlie Denny, standing in Central Park, reports. Well, I'm here in New York City in the Central Park, and we got trees, and the leaves are dying, and they're blowing off the trees, and look at that, there goes another leaf. We don't care. The rest of us don't care. So the UFOs in New Jersey, it's not just New Jersey. It's happening in Pennsylvania, and it's happening in Virginia. But because it's New Jersey and so many of the people on the TV stations in New York actually live in New Jersey, it's the biggest news on planet Earth. We got UFOs in New Jersey. Drones, what are they? We have no idea. I can tell you a few things. One, I can tell you I have talked to a number of pilots, and pilots who have seen the videos say that in some cases, not all of the cases, but in some cases, people are seeing planes, like legit planes, and probably civil aviation, although one of them looks very much like the tail of a Southwest jet, and I'm not the only person to have noticed. Two, not all of them are civilian or passenger planes. Some of them look like planes, but they're of odd designs. And there are some people speculating maybe these actually are planes with people in them or drones. Three, we do know some of them are drones. So you've got a social contagion event happening where people are seeing something flying through the sky and saying, oh my God, it's a drone, and it's actually the latest Southwest jet. But also there are precipitating events to the social contagion where there are drones in the sky and we don't know exactly what they are. We also know that there have been ships without transponders on detected in the Atlantic around the time the drones are detected. And this is a key thing. In Virginia and in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania, there have been ships detected in the Atlantic that don't have transponders or lights on, and the sightings, the detection occurs around the time that the drones come out. So there's clearly something happening out there. And people, including Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, a Democrat, or they're starting to get very frustrated.
I've been a little frustrated. There hasn't been enough transparency, letting people know what's happening. It's allowing a lot of potentially misinformation to spread, or at least fear. We should know what's going on over our skies, and I've asked for a lot more information.
Yeah, so fear is one of the things that's happening. Again, this is very important for everybody to understand that I've talked to too many pilots now. I got a lot of pilots who listen. Southwest and Atlanta both have big hubs in Atlanta, and Southwest and Delta have big hubs in Atlanta. And I've gotten a lot of pilots who said, look, we've seen the video. We've talked to other pilots. Our air traffic controllers are not detecting these, so they could be below 1,000 feet where the airport radar isn't detecting them. But at the same time, a lot of them coincide with the flight patterns of commercial jetliners and civil aviation. And not all of them. And that's important to keep two thoughts in your head. One is there are unidentified aerial craft flying, and also some of them are being actual commercial jetliners and civilian aviation, but not all of them. And that is a strong consensus from a lot of the pilots I've talked to. Now, here's John Kirby on, this was from Fox News. He was asked this question at a White House briefing.
Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said, we certainly take seriously the threat that can be posed by unmanned aircraft systems, which is why law enforcement and other agencies continue to support New Jersey and investigate the reports, even though they have uncovered no malicious activity or intent at this particular stage. While there is no known malicious activity occurring, the reported sightings there do, however, highlight a gap in authorities. And so we urge Congress to pass important legislation that will extend and expand existing counter-drone authorities so that we are better prepared to identify and mitigate any potential threats to airports or other critical infrastructure, and so that state and local authorities are provided all the tools that they need to respond to such threats as well.
Kirby gets as close to what these pilots are telling me, that a lot of people are just panicked now because they've heard these stories and they're thinking, oh, we've got UFOs, and really it's commercial or civil aviation planes. Commercial planes are planes for hire. You fly. Civil aviation, people with their little turboprop planes flying around, people are getting them confused. But there do appear to be some drones. Part of my frustration with the story is this has been happening a lot in over military installations in Virginia, and now all the New Jerseyans are like, what about us? What about us? We got them too. Except, as Kirby points out, and he's telling the truth here, I know he's telling the truth because I've talked to some folks within the DOD who are pretty angry with the Biden administration, and they say New Jersey is a distraction. The big play is Virginia. There have been a number of drones flying over military installations in Virginia, and their frustration, and by the way, no military installations over New Jersey are being impacted, but ones in Virginia are, and there have been a couple of reports out of Pennsylvania over military installations. The problem is that the Biden administration has not altered rules of engagement. When Trump was president, and Obama and Bush, there were rules of engagement that allowed the military to shoot these things down. When Biden became president, the law didn't change. The interpretation of the law by the Pentagon's lawyers under the direction of the White House changed, and they were no longer allowed under the rules of engagement to shoot these things down over civilian airspace. The problem is these drones fly in civilian airspace alongside military installations, and so they're not allowed to shoot them down. They know the rules of engagement, and all we need is the Trump team to come in and alter the rules of engagement. We don't actually need a new federal law being passed. I will tell you, I talked to someone at the Pentagon, and so here's what he says. John Kirby mentions they want Congress to expand authority and pass some additional laws. And his thinking is that one of the reasons the White House is dragging their feet is they want these laws passed, and Congress isn't passing the laws. And he wonders if some of this stuff is also people within the administration creating more of a social contagion panic, just try to get laws passed. All they got to do is change some interpretations of existing laws to change the rules of engagement instead of passing new laws. But the overwhelming consensus, just so you understand, the overwhelming consensus is that while there are some suspicious flights in New Jersey, overwhelmingly the position from pilots I've talked to, from people at the Pentagon I've talked to, from John Kirby, you heard him say, is that it's just people panicked and they're seeing civilian aviation or commercial jets saying, oh my gosh, it's UFO, when really it's not. And it's a big distraction because there actually is a massive security event happening in Virginia that no one's now talking about because of the situation in New Jersey. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. Merry Christmas to you all. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the phones, I want to go back to Ruby calling. Welcome to the show, Ruby. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, and we have met. I attended the gathering, and I was the single, childless cat lady for Trump and Vance. You signed me an autograph.
Nice.
Remember, I was wearing the patriotic red, white, and blue kimono?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling.
And I told you, I said, I love it. Don't you love it when a program is better than you think it's going to be? Oh, that gathering was fabulous. And you know what? That food was extraordinary. It was wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate
and the people attending were so sweet. I sat with the same table with the same people both days, and they were wonderful. We got to know each other. It was just I hope it's going to come again this coming year to Atlanta.
We're probably going to do a road show this year, but then be back in Atlanta next year.
Okay. Well, I have an idea that could help Daniel Penny to reclaim and kind of repair his reputation a little bit. I think that President Trump should invite him to the State of the Union address and have him sit up in the balcony with Melania. But this is very important. He has to have all the black and Hispanic people there with him that he saved, and they could stand up and applaud, and the media would have to cover it. The TV stations would have to cover it.
That's actually a really good idea, yeah.
Not only that, but he could also, you know how the Democrats always say, never let a crisis go to waste.
Ruby, that is a great idea. I got to let you go there because I got the commercial break, but that's actually not a bad idea. All those people forget it wasn't just white people on the train who he was protecting. It was black, it was Hispanic, it was Asian, and they all were willing to testify for him in trial. Bring them all to the State of the Union or the inauguration. Now, I got to tell you about Hillsdale College right now. This is a cool event they're doing, folks. In fact, let me go. I want to get the guy's name right. Go to ericforhillsdale.com today, and it's one of Hillsdale College's professors, Dwight Lindley, Associate Professor of English Literature, who's prepared a course on Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol and what it means. He leads you through the world of Ebenezer Scrooge, Bob Cratchit, Jacob Marley, The Ghosts of Christmas, and Tiny Tim. It is an online course. It's 6 lectures, each of them 30 minutes long. You'll receive a certificate for the course by completing the lectures and short quizzes. You can access supplementary questions and answer videos and study guides and a discussion board, and you can do it all at your own pace, on your own schedule, at ericforhillsdale.com. There's no charge for it, ericforhillsdale.com. Go take this course by Dwight Lindley, Associate Professor of English at Hillsdale, and you'll learn what makes Hillsdale unique in addition to learning about A Christmas Carol. ericforhillsdale.com. Go sign up with Hillsdale College today. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across America. The phone number this Open Line Friday, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very happy to have you. I want to go to the phones here and want to go to Norm calling. Welcome to the show, Norm. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Eric. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
So my question is, and they set the precedent with President Trump when he was out of office, they started lining up lawsuits against him. Can the families of our 13 Gold Star families that lost their kids in the Afghanistan withdrawal, could they sue the Biden administration and Harris and and Lloyd Austin for wrongful death?
They cannot. It was a public policy decision, and it was the direct result of terrorists blowing them up. They could technically sue the terrorists, but they can't sue Biden because the proximate cause was the terrorists bombing them, not Joe Biden asking for their release. But even if their direct cause was Joe Biden causing them to leave, he was the commander-in-chief and had the power as commander-in-chief to give the order, and there was nothing illegal about the order to withdraw, even if deaths resulted in the withdrawal. So now that's a pretty well-settled issue legally that they couldn't do that. And by the way, Norm, I did. Please don't hear me insulting you in this because I'm not. I promise I'm not. I very much find it notable in probably the last year or so of doing this. I've been doing this now since 2011. The number of people who call in and say, can someone sue for this? It's kind of interesting the way people now think if there is a wrong, there's got to be some way to sue for it. And sometimes there are, but a lot of times there aren't. And I've noticed this for a while now, that more and more we have entered litigious times. And that's and again, not a slight at Norm. It's more and more people noticing that is there a cause of action? Can I sue? Can someone sue because this thing happened? The general rule of thumb is if it is a public policy decision, you can't sue. The people who are aggrieved, who are affected by the public policy, can sue very often. But if it's the president changing the course of the country, and the president has the power to change that course, you can't sue to stop the president from doing that. And withdrawing from Afghanistan was a change in public policy for which there is no redress. The president gets to change that policy, and we don't get to stop him. It's just I do find this notable, and that this actually gets to something I want to get to in a minute. But first, I want to go to Lawrence. Welcome, Lawrence. How are you?
Hey, Eric. How are you?
Great.
Good. Well, I wanted to just kind of let you know, and I've been in the business, just talking about the border wall. Just so you know, just for a reference point, it was noted in the New York Post, August 19th, 2023. And just so you know, the title of the article was, are you with me?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, title of the article was Biden administration sells the border wall.
Mm-hmm.
And they sold it to an auction company based out of Canada on a platform called govplanet.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big social media guy. And actually, it's the first time I've ever called in. But when I saw that, being in the business, I thought to myself, you got to be kidding me. They're selling for like $5 a pound.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous.
And by the way, the cost has gone down now. Now it's like 3 cents.
Oh, has it really?
Yeah, it's well, no, I shouldn't say. I should say we're using different message. They're basically selling it 3 cents on the dollar at this point.
Isn't that a shame? I mean, it's our money, and
it's not just our money; it's our steel. Yeah,
it's our steel. That's exactly right. And they put a lot of thought into it, and they did a lot of engineering in that, and to just get shed of it is just
Look, and here's the problem. And Lawrence, let me let you go there. Thank you for the phone call. It is a clear effort to try to undermine the incoming administration. What is so wild about it, selling the border wall, getting rid of the ability to do the border wall quickly, is at this point, even the New York Times is willing to say Biden's policies caused the problem. Now that the election is over, there's no more covering for Biden. The New York Times is willing to run a story and say actually Biden's policies are the number one cause of the massive wave of illegal immigration into this country. They still, by the way, can't bring themselves to say illegal immigration, but it's illegal immigration. They're in its number one way. And so what is the Biden administration's response now that that's a huge issue is to sell off as quickly as they can the portions of the border wall that were not yet constructed to make it very difficult for the Trump administration to be able to put it back together. It's an affront and a big middle finger to the voters of America who voted to change course in large part because of Joe Biden's policies. I mean, the American public, they voted for Donald Trump for two specific reasons. They voted for Donald Trump for immigration and the economy. Groceries and illegal immigrants were the number one and number two issue of voters who voted in November. Donald Trump saw a massive shift in support from black voters and Hispanic voters. Do you know there was a 30-point swing in black support for Donald Trump in Virginia? Outside of Northern Virginia, where a lot of the D.C. people live, in the rest of Virginia, it was a 30-point swing. It was a 20-point swing in Northern Virginia. It's a massive shift to Donald Trump. He still lost the majority of the black vote, but they swung 30% his direction, 20% Northern Virginia. Hispanic voters swung his direction 40%. And the Biden administration, instead of looking at, oh, the voters rejected us and they want something different, they're doubling down on their failed policies. Of course they are. There's a level of arrogance when it comes to the Democrats, when they refuse to learn their lessons. I want to play for you Gloria Borger. Gloria Borger is actually a dear friend of mine. She is a political analyst on CNN. She's been there for quite some time. When I was there, she was very much a big sister to me. She had my back, even if we disagreed on things. And we very often disagreed, but we got along very well. And she would defend me and had my back, was an advocate for me. She knew the ropes, knew the ins and outs at CNN. And she was talking about John Fetterman with Dana Bash. And I just want to play you this.
The most interesting thing he said to Manu, to me, is that Donald Trump won Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And he's a senator from Pennsylvania. And so he joined Truth Social. He spoke his mind about that case, which, by the way, a lot of Democrats privately share that opinion, but haven't said it publicly. And I think what he's doing is he's zero-basing everything. He's saying, I'm going to come at this as a neutral party because this guy won. He won the popular vote, and I've got to give it a shot. And I'll disagree where I disagree. He didn't commit to supporting Hegseth. He just committed to listening to him.
Now, what is it that Democrats privately agree with John Fetterman on, but won't say so publicly? The hush money case, the Alvin Bragg case against Donald Trump. And she's right, because I know the Democrats as well who believe it's a scam case. John Fetterman is one of the very few Democrats who's willing to stand up out there and say these things, who's willing to tell Democrats, you got to listen to the voters. It's wild to see Fetterman, but the dynamics of Pennsylvania have shifted to the right. The Republicans are surging in Pennsylvania because of what Joe Biden did to the economy. And I can't emphasize this enough. I really can't. If there is one lesson Republicans need to learn from the election, it's that your mandate is to fix the economy. And if you fix the economy, you can do all the other things you say you want to do that you didn't really have a mandate for. When Donald Trump was interviewed by Time Magazine for the Man of the Year, they asked him why he won, and he said grocery prices. Grocery prices. And he's right. You fix grocery prices either by bringing them down or bringing wages up enough that it feels like you've brought grocery prices down. You can do whatever else you want. You can deal with the border however you want to deal with it. You can deal with tariffs however you want to deal with it. You can deal with education however you want to deal with it. You can deal with boys and girls sports however you want to deal with it. You fix groceries, you have license to do pretty much the rest of your agenda. But if you don't fix grocery prices, the voters will reject you just as they rejected Joe Biden. So Republicans, your mandate is for the economy, nothing else. But if you do well with the economy, then you do have a mandate for everything else. Don't misinterpret your win the way Joe Biden misinterpreted his win in 2020. Joe Biden interpreted the win in 2020 as a fundamental change for America when it was really people were tired of Trump in 2020 after COVID. Now the Trump administration stands to the risk of overinterpreting their own mandate when it's really about groceries, the economy, and illegal immigration. You fix those things, and I mean, the power is yours to do with what you want. But you got to fix the first things first, and then you can do the rest of it. Voters will let you do it. Be mindful of your mandate. This isn't hard stuff, but the problem is you get people in Washington, D.C., and they like to overinterpret things. They like to have these grand visions for things that aren't real. They like to misinterpret what voters have told them. They like to misinterpret the data. You interpret the data accurately, then the voters give you all the other things you want. It's just something everybody's got to be mindful of, particularly the GOP when they head into D.C. in 2025. And that leads in, of course, to reconciliation. And you got now this debate over whether you need to do one bill or two bills. The House wants to do two bills, or this House wants to do one bill. The Senate wants to do two bills. Essentially, what the Senate wants to do is they want to restructure spending in Washington and cut everything, and then later do a tax reform package to extend President Trump's tax cuts. What the House wants to do is do it all together. They're afraid something might happen to the economy, it could disrupt things. But I suspect the Senate vision is going to win out on this because the House is divided on how to proceed, and the Senate Republicans are pretty united. Now, one of the groups out there helping give shape to the Republican reconciliation package is Americans for Prosperity. They're actively thinking about how to pursue and develop the reconciliation package and how to persuade members of Congress to do the right thing. They would love to have you on their side. They have chapters in just about every state. If you go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer today, you can sign up with AFP. And you can be a part of the solution for common sense conservative reform in this country. They advocate at the state and local level for common sense conservative solutions for public policy. They train up their volunteers to be door knockers and advocates, or just the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. So when your friends have questions about public policy, you have the right answers. All you have to do is go to americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Again, they've got chapters in just about every single state. They would love to have you in the fight for freedom and free markets and families in this country. It's americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Sign up with AFP today. Be a part of a movement bigger than yourself. They're the largest and leading grassroots group in the country, and you can be a part of it at americansforprosperity.org/volunteer. Greetings. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Want to go to Steve's phone call here. Welcome to the show, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. How about you, Eric?
Great.
And I'm going to prove to you that we in Alabama can say your name, Eric Erickson.
I wish people in South Georgia could instead of Eric Erickson.
I understand. But anyway, I'm going to change my subject of what I told your screener. If Doug Jones had been the senator that Fetterman is turning out to be, he would still be the senator.
Amen. Yes.
But no, I voted for Doug Jones because I didn't think Moore would get along with anybody and just cause disruption.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was like he was going to be just go up there and just rant and rave and not, do his job.
Yeah.
It's going to be impossible for anybody to work with him.
Yeah, and then Fetterman, Fetterman is the model for Democrats in states like that. And I don't know that Doug could have hung on, given the Republican bias of the state, but he probably would have had a fighting chance, unlike now. But you know what? You raised that point, Steve, but I know you wanted to call in and talk about the drones, too, and I'm happy to chat with you about that one in the minute we have left.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm thinking that maybe the new drones coming up may be China and Iran being emboldened because we said it was nothing. I mean, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but,
No.
See, and doing things now.
Here's my theory on this. In some cases, Steve, I think they're trying out. So we're trying out weapons technology in Ukraine, giving the Ukrainians access to some of our cutting-edge technology to see how it fares against the Russians, the Chinese, and the Iranians. And it turns out our technology is still vastly better than their technology, what they're putting in the field in Ukraine. It's one reason I kind of support sending the weapons to Ukraine, because we get live fire exercises against our enemies without our kids being in harm's way. I think the Chinese and the Iranians are doing the same thing to us with the drones. They're flying them over. They're testing their technologies on our technology to see how good they are at stealth, to see how good they are at communications detection and disruption. And that's another reason we need to shoot them down and see what they're doing. I think you're absolutely right. They've gotten emboldened, and they're like, because of them being as emboldened as they are now, they're like, let's fly them over to the U.S. There have been these wild theories about the UFOs out there for some time. And, the Navy's encountered them at sea. Some of what the Navy reports defies the laws of physics. And I mean that very seriously. It is physically impossible. And I need to say this to you, based on the observations of the Navy and the video stuff we've seen, it is physically impossible for anybody to develop a vehicle that can move at 1,000 miles an hour perfectly straight and then turn 90 degrees without slowing down and keep going at 1,000 miles an hour. It's physically impossible inside our known laws of physics. We don't know what we're seeing. We don't know if what our readings are accurate. We have no idea. But this is what they've seen, is something that shot out faster than the sound barrier and hooked 90 degrees without slowing down. Manned or unmanned flight, the stresses on a vehicle like that would be too much. It would break apart just given friction in the air, unless there's something going on, and we don't know. Most of what we've seen, however, is explainable as probably advanced technology from China. And yeah, I think it's absolutely right. This is the Chinese stretching their legs, being emboldened with the Iranians, seeing what they can pull over on us.